Hey there, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back, episode number 2 of the series that we're running for this next 5 days, which is called The Music of Australia and Canada, the Commonwealth Brothers. For those of you who don't know what that means, basically Canada and Australia, along with India and New Zealand and a dozen other countries, are part of the Commonwealth nations of Great Britain, which means that basically we hold allegiance to the crown, to the king, and that's why we have a prime minister instead of a president. So anyways, I think of Australians as my brothers because we share a common history and a common love for rock music. So that is the reason for the title of this series. So basically, each episode I will do 2 bands that fit a particular category that I've selected. Today's category that I've selected is super talented. And the 2 bands I've chosen for this episode are Triumph from Canada and Masters Apprentices from Australia. Both these bands have excellent skills, both musically, lyrically, and the ability to write complex, wonderful songs. Both of them have that. I like both of them quite a bit. I, in recent years, have probably come to like Masters Apprentices more, and currently I listen to them more because I like their music and it's fresh to me. I do apologize if I make any mistakes on the Australian side of it. I didn't grow up with the Australian bands. They're recent to me. I am learning as I go along. Most of the Canadian bands I'm going to be doing, I've listened to for decades and have grown up knowing more about them just from being around them. It would be the same as if I lived in Australia with growing up with these Australian bands and probably wouldn't know as much about the Canadian bands. But you know, that's the great part about this channel, is I get to learn stuff that I probably would never have done if I hadn't started this. So the 2 bands in question today, Triumph and Masters Apprentice. So both bands exceptionally gifted. I think in the case of Triumph, they have one of the premier guitar players of his time period. And he actually has a killer voice as well. You have a drummer that is really good and also has a very bluesy, interesting sounding voice as well. And then you got the other guy who plays bass and also keyboards and helps write the music. With Masters Apprentices, they only had the 5 albums, but they were definitely strong albums. A couple of them for sure I thought were absolutely killer albums. Lots of awesome instrumentation on their albums. I think they are one of the most talented of Australian bands for sure. I love the vocals. I love the complexity of their music. I love the psychedelic nature of some of their stuff as well. Really tasteful, really well orchestrated, really well carved stuff, I think. So Triumph put out 10 studio albums in their history, most of them with Rick Emmett on, and the Masters Apprentice has 5 of those albums, with their chief ones coming pretty early on. The type of music for Triumph is a hard rock, almost pop rock kind of, or power pop on some of their bigger songs, as well as there is a definite progressive nature to their music, complex music arrangements. Masters Apprentice, similar, definitely have a lot of prog in their music, some psychedelic elements to their music, as well as hard rock and a little bit of that garage rock sound as well. So the classic band for Triumph, Rick Emmett, Gil Moore, and Mike Levine, they are the classic members. When Emmett left, he was replaced by another guy who I think only played on maybe 1 album, possibly 2, I can't remember. And then with Master's Apprentice, you have Jim Keys and Doug Ford being the main two guys. Glenn Wheatley, Colin Burgess having played in this band, and some other guys as well. But those are the main ones, I believe. Ford and Keys doing most of the writing, I believe. The next category, biggest albums. Well, no, I think there's a little bit of leeway on this. I think Allied Forces is probably Triumph's biggest album, but I do like Progressions of Power and Just a Game a little bit more than those two albums. But to me, Allied Forces is probably the preeminent album by them. And as for Master's Apprentice, I think that album has to fall to Choice Cuts. Such a awesome album, probably better than any other album in today's video. This is such a great album. The current status of these two bands, so you have Triumph, which has been inactive since 2019. There doesn't seem to be any movement towards becoming more active and doing more stuff. They've done a little bit up until 2019, but not a lot. And it appears that they won't be doing anything in the near future either. However, Master's Apprentices have continued as a 5-piece band. I think one of the original players, because I believe, don't get me wrong, but I think Keys might be passed away. I didn't do a ton of research here, so I'm not 100% sure. I could be completely off on the mark here. I may be thinking of somebody else, another band that I'm thinking I'm confusing them with, because when I was writing this, I was writing about their stuff, putting it on the board, and then I realized that I was copying stuff from one of the other episodes as well. So I may have confused myself slightly there. Anyways, they are continuing as a 5-piece, I believe. Now, I could be wrong. Let me take a look at my notes here just in case I kind of messed that up a bit. Yeah, apparently they are still continuing as a 5-piece with Bauer leading the charge, being an original member of the band. So, anyways, an excellent group, a group that I love. I think they are among my favorite new bands that I discovered since I started this 3 years ago. Definitely a band that I hope to get some of these albums. They might be a little difficult because they are not so readily found over here, but if I can get them, I will definitely have them. I think they're all well worth it. Such a great band. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the music of Australia and Canada, the Commonwealth Brothers, and I hope that you will please hit the like and subscribe. Any comments about the band, especially about Master's Apprentice, I'd like to be a little bit more educated on them. I mean, you can read what you read online, but it doesn't always mean that it's exact or true. And so it's always good to get it from the horse's mouth. So if anybody wants to leave any comments down there, they can. Please don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the rest of the content of the series. And we will see you again. This will come out tomorrow morning. We will see you again on Friday for episode 3. Take care.